On the program today, we look at Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra and a very, very intriguing support from Yogendra Yadav for it. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. In minutes from now, we'll be talking to Yogendra Yadav, whom we've known in many avatars, most recently, of course, as somebody leading the farmers' protest movement. But now he's on the road along with Rahul Gandhi as they undergo a yatra by foot from the south of India in Kanyakumari to the north in Kashmir. It is the largest such mass contact mobilization program by the Congress in recent years. But remember, Yogendra Yadav was not always a supporter of the Congress or of Rahul Gandhi. Indeed, he has been a caustic, acerbic, and unscathing critic. What made him change his mind? What made him endorse and join this yatra? And what clue can we get from this on the changing nature, perhaps, of larger opposition politics? Let's go across now to Yogendra ji, who's on the yatra, as we said, who stopped by somewhere to talk to us. Thank you and namaskar, Yogendra ji. Always great to see you. मैं थोड़ा हिंदी अंग्रेजी में मिक्स रखूंगी ताकि ज्यादा हमारी ऑडियंस समझ पाए, इसको एक्सेस कर पाए. सबसे पहले पूछना चाहूंगी, सबको याद है 2019 में आपने बहुत ही डिसअपॉइंटमेंट एट द रिजल्ट्स के बाद बोला कि कांग्रेस कैन नॉट प्रोवाइड एन ऑल्टरनेटिव टू द बीजेपी. ऐसा ही चलता जाए तो मे बी द कांग्रेस हैज टू डाई बिफोर अ न्यू ऑल्टरनेटिव कैन इमर्ज. ये आपका उस समय का ट्वीट था. आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ आवर ऑडियंस वुड वांट टू नो, योगेंद्र जी, what made that Yogendra Yadav of 2019 this Yogendra Yadav of 2022? What changed your mind?
I'm glad you asked this question, Barkha, because I wanted everyone to understand where I stood, where I stand. आपसे कम से कम ये मैं उम्मीद कर सकता हूँ कि बाकियों को तो सिर्फ यही याद है, कांग्रेस मस्ट डाई. आपसे उम्मीद ये भी करता हूँ कि आपने वो आर्टिकल भी पढ़ा होगा और आप जरूर उसको दोबारा भी पढ़िएगा और उसमें राहुल गांधी का नाम लेके कुछ लिखा है वो भी पढ़ लीजिएगा क्या लिखा था. Has my what did I say? I said, अगर तुम इस चुनाव में भी बीजेपी के सामने जम के लड़ नहीं सकते तो मर जाओ, इससे अच्छा. तो yes, that's exactly what I have said. Not that you are bad, you are worse than BJP or something. As you rightly said, there was a deep anger at losing such a critical election, not even fighting it as seriously as one should have fought it. Has that changed? No. My deep disappointment at not making 2019 into the kind of battle it should have been hasn't gone. Has my assessment of Congress party dramatically changed? I do not know. It may change in the next 5 months, but as of today, for me to say it has changed would be wrong. So what has changed? What has changed, Barkha, is the country you and I lived in. The country that we lived in 2019 was a bad place to live in. Things had started going very badly. But this country had not started celebrating rapists and murderers and giving them garlands. This country had not seen bulldozer Raj. This country had not seen open challenges to the constitution of this country. This country had not seen open calls to genocide and backed by power. That is what has changed. And for people like me, you said, it's intriguing support by Yogendra Yadav. I would merely qualify to say it's not just Yogendra Yadav. How do I matter? There are, on the 22nd of August, we held a convention in Delhi where 150 organizations, people's organizations, civil society organizations from the country came. And we unanimously said we welcome and extend support and would find our own ways to connect with this yatra. 5 days ago, 2 days before the yatra began, 200 leading personalities of this country issued a statement welcoming and supporting this yatra. So please don't give Yogendra Yadav more importance than he deserves. But yes, Barkha, there comes a moment in country's life where you say, I set everything aside. I set my past anger, quarrels, disappointments, my relationships, everything aside and take a side. 1942 was one such moment for this country. 1977, even in this context, I would say unashamedly, 1977 was one such moment for the country. And today we are in this third moment, Barkha. I do not want my grandchildren or generations after me to ask, what was he doing in 2023-24? If in 1977, I mean, you remember the context, emergency, threat of democracy, democracy may not have survived after 77. If someone said, well, I would have supported Janta Party, but I didn't like Morarji Desai. But the Jivan Ram was with them till 2 days before, and so on and so forth. Would you not turn around and say, did you not see the big picture, sir?
Hmm.
That's the thing, but we have to look at the big picture and take side today. There are only two camps in this country: those who seek to divide, and for whatever reason, for reasons of their deep ideology or for reasons of their convenience, and those who seek to oppose that politics of division for whatever reason.
It is interesting that you cite, of course, the aftermath of the emergency as one such epochal moment in the life of this country, considering that right now you're walking shoulder to shoulder with a Congress leader and inheritor, as it were, of that same political legacy that, of course, you condemn. But I understand the paradoxes of politics. My question is somewhat different. My question is, Yogendra ji, you had an open question just now. Aapne kaha, has my assessment of the Congress dramatically changed? And then you didn't answer that. So let me ask you, has your assessment of the Congress dramatically changed?
In fact, I answered that. I answered that by saying, I do not know. I may find it after 5 months that things have changed. But as of now, for me to say on the basis of a 3-day yatra so far, that I see dramatic difference in Congress party would be something which would be incredulous. I would not be able to. So let me see. I see a lot of very positive things. I see a speech when it began and Rahul Gandhi gave a speech at Kanyakumari. I thought the speech actually openly, confidently spoke about constitutional values in a way many politicians of this country don't do. But is a speech enough to change one's mind? No. On the road, I see some new breed of congressmen. I see congressmen who actually take Vinoba and Gandhi more seriously and are walking barefooted. Is that one or two examples enough to change my mind? No. But something may change. So give me time. But I must clarify it absolutely clearly once again. The decision that many of us have taken, many people's movement in civil society, is that we would support any such initiative which seeks to build bridges in this country. Tomorrow, if the DMK were to start it, I would be the first one to support it. The left were to start it, TMC were to do it, we would support them all. So it's not just Congress. Today is a moment to just forget all these small divisions. People's movement needs to be bridged with parties. Parties need to be bridged with one another.
Let's talk about this idea of unity of those who are taking on, in this case, the BJP. There is a party that you were associated with once, the Aam Aadmi Party, and on the very day that the Bharat Jodo Yatra was also unveiled in parallel from Haryana, the Aam Aadmi Party's Make India Number One. None of us who are students of politics can believe this is a coincidence. But what is the message it sends out, at least to the supporters of the BJP and to the BJP itself? ये देखिए ये opposition ये तो कभी भी unite नहीं हो सकती. I'm wondering how you tackle that idea of both of these yatras having been unveiled on the very same day when looked at through the prism of hard politics.
Barkha, as you said, these things cannot be a coincidence. So when two things happen and they are not a coincidence, the question you want to ask is who was the one who announced it first? Well, the answer is very obvious. And who followed it up, who tried to sabotage. But that's all right. In politics, there are no copyrights on days and so on. If you want to do something, you have the strength. You're perfectly entitled to do so. For me, the question about Aam Aadmi Party is simply this. I said today in this country, there are only two camps. Those who seek to reduce everything in this country to Hindu-Muslim. Those who are not willing to stand by elementary requirements of a secular politics. And those who, for whatever reason, are willing to stand against it and oppose that kind of politics. Where does Aam Aadmi Party stand on that? I don't know. Honestly, having known everything, here is a party whose chief minister does not speak a word when riots are taking place in his own city, who does not have the guts to go and stand with the victims. I do not. The chief minister does not have law and order powers, and I do not expect the chief minister to have done all that. But I expected him to at least stand. When bulldozers are being used in his city, what do they do? They raised the question of Rohingyas, which not even the BJP had raised by then. So which side of the divide do they stand? Well, perhaps to the side of those who seek to divide this country or who want to silently watch it and possibly take advantage of it. That is what prevents me. Otherwise, for whatever may have happened with Arvind Kejriwal, I think these are very small things in anyone in a nation's life. If I were to find tomorrow that Arvind Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party is determined to take on, not just contest the BJP, but determined to take on this politics of hatred, I would forget everything and extend my hand to it. This is the moment not to get into anything petty.
You're actually saying that you believe that Arvind Kejriwal is on the side of the BJP. The BJP, which has constantly, in a way, gone head to head with him, actually sees him as a man with national ambitions trying to take on Narendra Modi. The voter of 2024 is looking at all of this. What should she think? What should she think when she sees you and Rahul Gandhi in, let's say on your yatra? She sees an Arvind Kejriwal and she sees a Narendra Modi. What should the voter think?
On the question of Aam Aadmi Party, what you said, what kind of a message can we draw from that? To my mind, the message is absolutely clear. Aam Aadmi Party today does not, they are a political opponent. There's a difference between being electoral opponent and being political and ideological opponent. My question is, yes, of course, Aam Aadmi Party is an electoral opponent of the BJP. Of course, ADMK is an electoral opponent of DMK. But is ADMK ideologically different from DMK? No. Is Aam Aadmi Party today, from its practice, ideologically opposed to BJP? Well, show me one statement in the last 1 year. What did they do at 370? Have they uttered one word about Bilkis Bano? So the only conclusion you can draw is they are electoral opponents, but they are ideologically on the same side. And that is what prevents me from mentioning Aam Aadmi Party. Otherwise, the way I mentioned DMK, left, anyone else, I would have mentioned Aam Aadmi Party as well. What should the voter conclude from when they see us together? I sincerely hope that the voter should think, okay, it's not just those who seek to benefit from Congress regime. It's not just those who are in contest for elections. It's not just those who are old electoral allies. Even those who have nothing to gain, even those who have opposed them in the past, have come with them for this particular initiative. There must be something to it.
Let's come back to the yatra and the messaging. It is a very sort of Gandhian mode, as it were, of mass mobilization. But Rahul Gandhi, as you know, has a peculiar challenge. And his challenge is how to fend off the perception of being entitled, of being pedigreed, of being the political elite. And Mahatma Gandhi did not have, those challenges. And what Rahul Gandhi's critics and the BJP have done is that they have juxtaposed images of the original Gandhi and this Gandhi, and even picked, for example, on his branded designer T-shirts. I don't want to trivialize this conversation. I am asking this more from a conversation about messaging. When you want to message that you're among the people, with the people, you're not an elite, you're one of them, you're there on the ground with them. We all know that how you conduct yourself, what you wear, what you convey matters. Do you believe that this focus on Mr. Gandhi's clothes has deflected, has been an unnecessary distraction? Was it a mistake? How do you see this?
There was a Hindi song, "ये ना होता तो कोई दूसरा गम होना था." तो वो कुछ तो कुछ होना था. टी शर्ट नहीं होती तो पैंट होता, नहीं तो जूता होता. Maybe I must confess, for all my other clothes, I do wear a juta, which is actually decent quality, because I don't want to walk with blistered feet. So I think these are things that happen. And it's a comment on the quality of our media that we focus on such things. And listen, I do not compare anyone to Mahatma Gandhi. I hope Rahul Gandhi himself does not. At least I've never heard him even making a faint attempt
Of
to
course.
compare
Yeah.
himself to that. And if we were to judge people by standards of Mahatma Gandhi, all us mortals would look very, very small. So, I mean, that goes without saying.
No, no, I wasn't.
To my mind,
Sorry, I wasn't saying that Rahul Gandhi is like Mahatma Gandhi. I was saying he is borrowing from the instruments of the original Gandhi. That's the point I was making.
all of us want to learn one penny bit or two penny bit from the great Mahatma. And please remember, Mahatma Gandhi also faced a similar challenge. Please remember, Gandhi had actually not seen a village till he was 40-year old. Please remember, he was an English speaking barrister who had gone first to South Africa. So by the time he had come to India, he had overcome many of these things. I mean, let's remember, Satyajit Ray had possibly not seen a village before he started shooting Hare. So these are all Indians who discovered India. Jawaharlal Nehru discovered India. So it's not about who you happen to be in the beginning. I think most great people in India came from very elite background, but they owned up this country. They connected to this country. And this yatra poses a challenge, not just to Rahul Gandhi, but to all of us to connect deeper to this country. Yes, for Rahul Gandhi, this is a challenge. Yes, of course, the media is watching. Yes, of course, the whole country is watching. Well, can this man actually walk? Would he really walk in the dirt in the streets of this country? I have my answer, but I would wait for the answer to become obvious.
Let's step back in the last few minutes that we have. We have about 5 minutes to look at the overall politics of the country right now, Yogendra ji. You know, you've been a psephologist. All our polling surveys so far seem to show a kind of dominant popularity for the prime minister, for the incumbent. Yet you have said in other interviews, I think including one with Karan Thapar, that you believe that there is a kind of downswing that you see post the changing of arrangements in Bihar. Why do you see that? The cynical would say कि बिहार में क्या हुआ, नीतीश जी ने फिर पलट दी साइड. That's what the cynical people of who are immersed in politics would say. क्या बदला है योगेंद्र जी बिहार के बाद?
I've said that in that interview, and I've written a long essay, and I've written a subsequent essay giving the mathematics of it. For the time being, let's forget the morality on which everyone knows the answer. But we are just looking at the electoral equation. BJP had 303 seats in 2019, and 353 seats belong to the NDA. Now, ask yourself a simple question. Which are the states where BJP can possibly improve the number that it had in 2019? Just rack your brain. The only possible state would be Telangana, where BJP can add 3 or 4 seats, maybe 5 if they are very lucky, to what they have. Now ask yourself, where is it BJP is bound to lose seats compared to what it had in 2019? Because remember, BJP simply cannot improve in large number of states. Where would it lose? Bengal, most obviously, they had 18 seats, would be lucky with 5 now. Bihar, BJP with allies had 39 out of 40. They would be lucky with 9 this time. Maharashtra, they had 41 out of 48. Should be very happy with 20 this time. So BJP is losing. And I'm not even speaking of North India, where things are really going down for the BJP. But at the moment, let's assume things are what they are. The only argument I had simply made was that, look, think of India in 3 slices. From Bengal to Kerala, 193 seats with a few other states. BJP had only 36, cannot get more than 25 this time. Middling states where coalitions matter, things have got bad for the BJP. They should be happy with 65 out of 150. Now, out of 200, the remaining 200 seats, which is UP, much of Hindi belt, and Gujarat, BJP needs to get 180 out of 200. Now, is that not difficult? So the electoral equation is going against the BJP. Election surveys are suggesting that people are extremely anxious, worried, and unhappy about their economic state. But Mr. Modi is popular. So it's the last but which remains. And if something can remove that last but, then this entire regime and its invincible looking political power would crumble like a pack of cards. That's
But
the
that
argument that I'm making.
but that last but is perhaps the most difficult, because as elections get more personality centric and narratives are built around individuals as opposed to ideologies, which is what's been happening more and more, that is where the challenge is for those of you who are marching against the BJP. And may I also remind you of a structural problem, as you know, in the Congress right now, that it hasn't yet decided who will lead it. And there is a certain degree of confusion. Is Mr. Gandhi the face? Is he the party president? Is he both? We don't know any of that. Are those issues that concern you?
These should concern Congress people enormously. And as an Indian citizen, I do think that creating some kind of I've been saying it, a good message and a good messenger are absolutely vital. So yes, it is difficult, but yes, we have more than a year and a half. And difficult things are worth doing in politics. If you do only simple things, what's the point? What's the fun of doing politics? So yes, it is difficult. Yes, it is possible. Yes, the country's very survival depends on turning this difficulty into a possibility.
A last question to you personally. You left the Samayukt Kisaan Morcha, a few days ago. This farmers' protest was, in a way, the epicenter of everything that you were doing. What happens to that? One, and two, do you feel the need to be ideologically, let me use the word not flexible, but strategic, because as you said, the country has changed in multiple ways, and old politics, the old ideas of secularism, the old ideas of how the space of religion in public life, the old ideas of what you had to do to stand up and be counted as a patriot, all of these things have changed in a way that they never had maybe even 15 years ago. How has your personal politics or ideology changed, if at all?
Barkha, nothing has changed in SKM at all. I've simply said that I would withdraw from the coordination committee, and hopefully my colleague, the national president of my Jai Kisan Andolan, hopefully would replace me. So nothing has changed because I want to focus more on this bridge building between movements and parties. And it would be unfair on Samayukt Kisaan Morcha for me to then hold on to one of those constituents while I'm reaching out to everyone else as well. On the need for, it's neither flexibility nor pragmatism. I think the equilibrium of Indian politics needs to be redefined. And I think secular liberal politics of the yesteryears got that equilibrium very wrong. And the left also got it completely wrong. We need to redefine that equilibrium, which puts nationalism in the center stage, but a nationalism of a different kind, a nationalism of a positive variety. We need to reinvent the ideology of the Indian national movement, which was a positive nationalism. We could get into details. I've again written about this. But yes, we need to redefine the ideological equilibrium, the center of Indian politics. And that is the only way of taking on this politics of hatred and this capture of nationalism by an ideology which is completely antithetical to the idea of India. ये भारत के स्वधर्म पे हमला हो रहा है इस वक्त, और भारत के स्वधर्म को बचाने के लिए हमें हमारे आजादी के आंदोलन के, हमारे संविधान के और हमारी सभ्यता के जो गहरे मूल्य हैं उनकी तरफ वापस जाना।
Okay, Yogendra ji, we'll let you get back to the yatra. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमसे बात करने के लिए. In the end, ideas, intellectualism, debates, academia, इस सब की जगह है, लेकिन लोगों को कन्विंस करना कि वो किस तरह वोट डालते हैं, ये एक लोकतंत्र का अल्टीमेट टेस्ट है. एंड भारत जोड़ो यात्रा will have to work from ideas and energy actually into the electoral Maidan, and that's where, in a way, its real test eventually, not abhi, but eventually by 2024 will lie. Thank you, Yogendra ji, namaskar, and always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.